I know you have said a couple of times that you do experience anxiety and you have gone through depression. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about your depression.
Yeah. For me, well, what I learned was anxiety usually coincides with depression. So if
Yes.
you have anxiety, you most likely have depression. And a lot of it that I had heard, and I think with me specifically maybe, was having anxiety for a couple of years, I guess, lowers your serotonin levels and therefore can cause depression based off of how you experience anxiety and you're not like letting up on anxiety. Yeah, I've never taken anything for it. I've always been I was never in depression to the point where I wouldn't get out of bed. So I was like an active person, but just had these depression feelings. And so basically, I think that I didn't even know I was in depression at the time. And I didn't even know I really had anxiety. I did this book. This is kind of like where it started. Well, not where it started, but I clearly had anxiety growing up. I wasn't acknowledging it because I thought it was normal. And I thought it was like, performance, like I'm performing in front of like
Right.
people, like this is a normal feeling to have, like your heart racing. And then I also remember like having a panic attack before performance, but not knowing it was a panic attack. So I didn't really have anyone say, you're having anxiety, like
Right.
saying that to me. And so basically, I did this book that it basically is like making you more present in your life. And it's all about thriving versus striving, which were all really positive things that I loved. However, it makes you very present. And so to the point where that's when I acknowledged huge anxiety feelings. And when I felt it, it was like very much I felt it.
Like you opened the floodgates.
Yeah, it was like I opened Pandora's box and it was like, now I feel everything.
Right.
I was like,
And were you working with anyone at the time, or this was all like
all just self, like reading this book, doing this practice. And one of them was like, you start doing this bath thing underwater with your heart. And like, I was on vacation and I was on my way home from vacation and I had like an actual panic attack on the flight. I wanted to get off the flight and my husband's like, you need to breathe. And I think you're having an anxiety attack. And so I just meditated because meditation's a big part of the book. So I was always able to get myself out of those feelings by meditating. And then that's when I started to see a therapist because I was like, I'm clearly having a weird reaction to this book. And like, I'm really anxiety, it's like it's just through the roof. Basically, when I read Attacking Anxiety and Depression, it talks about how they, coincide with each other and you normally are suffering from both. And I definitely was. And I was having really, really bad anxiety at the time. At this point, my anxiety was in pitch meetings with my production company. I could feel frozen. Like literally, I felt very stuck in my body.
Like paralyzed.
Yeah. And it was like, I wanted to get out, but I couldn't. And I'm professional and I wanted to get through the meeting, but I was like having these feelings of feeling frozen and stuck. And I was like, and my sister, she was working with me at the time. I would like look over at her and she knew what I was going through and no one thankfully knew what I was going through, but it was very hard. And those were like the more debilitating times of my anxiety. And then I was doing a show, I was doing a pilot and it was a sitcom in front of an audience. And it was like around the time of my, taking over Illuminate and everything. So my stress was super high. The show itself was very stressful because the scenes were being rewritten on the day of performing. So you just have all of this happening. And so I remember my body was like physically shaking. And that's when my makeup artist was like, you need to read this book, Attacking Anxiety and Depression, because you're having a lot of anxiety. And I was like, no, this is I think there's something wrong with me. I just kept on thinking of something else. She's like, I'm telling you, I did this book when I was 14 and I haven't had a panic attack since. And I was like, okay. But like, and it was weird. They'd say action, my body would stop shaking. And then they say cut. And it was like, almost like my body was in shock. Like it was that bad. It got to a point where I was like, something has to change. I can't live my life this way. It was just horrible. And so that's when I did that book. I could talk to someone, and I guess like I talked to a therapist for a while. They were helpful, but this book was just like very like had homework and made
like
so much
practical tools.
Yeah, and it's like a full like 15-week program. So you have CDs you listen to and you actively are working through this, you know, and it was just so helpful. And it like really got me out of what I was feeling and got me out of depression and got me out of like fear of failure is like one of the subjects, and got me back into the recording studio. And I wrote my whole album Symptoms based off my journey. So like this beautiful thing came out of it. And it was just, I don't know, for me, it was just like, that was so helpful.